Hey guys, SJ Newell here. So maybe you've seen or even shared this kind of picture before. Of course, Benny Hinn and other charismatic leaders have always been easy targets. Bashing on them never really gets old, does it? And it's kind of become that universal sign for how incredibly super duper spiritual we are. But the reality is, stuff like this actually demonstrates the opposite. It shows a failure to accurately and honestly evaluate those who we disagree with. I'll show you by pointing out two major errors in this message. For one, there isn't really any record that Jesus, the apostles, or any other miracle worker in the Bible ever went to anything like hospitals to heal. In nearly all cases, the infirmed went to them with their need. There is that one instance where Jesus healed a lame man at the pool of Bethesda, but that was out of multitudes of sick people who were present. But that's it. One recorded incident that sounds remotely similar to a healing taking place at a hospital. So that means the standard that these healing ministers are being held to today wasn't even met by the large majority of the men of God in the Bible. Here's an interesting passage that may shed some light on this topic. And he said unto them, You will surely say unto me this proverb, Physician, heal yourself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in your country. But I tell you the truth. Many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elisha the prophet, yet none of them was cleansed except Naaman the Syrian. Why didn't Elisha cleanse all of them? Secondly, the statement itself is actually false. There are indeed ministers who go to hospitals and heal the sick. It happens quite frequently. In fact, a while back we shared a video of a boy who couldn't even stand, suddenly up in tears walking around in a doctor's office after being prayed for. So right about now, the criticism shifts on this, and people begin to express their skepticism of the claims of healing themselves. They want the doctor's reports and the video evidence and the x-rays, etc., which is fine, but that isn't the way the testimonies of healing were verified in the Bible. Instead, the person themselves and those that knew them were the ones that spread that message of healing. So once again, what we have here are critics who claim to be biblically based, erecting an unbiblical standard and demanding it be met. As a side note, actually many of these healings have in fact been documented and are what are referred to in the medical field as spontaneous remission. Here's a transcript from a CNN Impact story that ran back on March 16, 1997. A couple of things to note about this. First of all, at the time of the making of this video, this transcript can be found on an anti-Benny Hinn website. In addition, the majority of the investigation had a negative slant to it. So before anyone tries to claim there was a bias in favor of Mr. Hinn, it's actually kind of the opposite. That being said, I thought this was a particularly fascinating excerpt from the report. Quote, Some of Hinn's healings are indeed documented and defy medical explanations. He's even published a book listing these cases, with doctor's notes included. Hinn provided Impact with 24 documented healings from people suffering a variety of illnesses. To be fair, there are also cases where people claim to be healed and the symptoms either returned or the healing could never be verified in the first place. But I'm not aware of anyone, including Hinn himself, who would argue otherwise. Here's an interesting read I picked up on eBay a while back, written by an MD who traveled with Catherine Coleman. As many of you may know, Benny Hinn is an understudy of Coleman, and his ministry is structured in a near identical manner to hers. This book gives names, dates, along with multiple CT scans, x-rays, and all kinds of excellent documentation by multiple doctors who collaborated in the findings of numerous healings of people who attended a Coleman meeting. Just to clarify, I'm not a fan of Benny Hinn. I actually don't really listen to or follow any of the big names you see on TV. But that isn't the point. Somewhere along the line we got the idea that it was okay to slander those with whom we disagree. It isn't. It's sinful. Wait a second. Doesn't the Bible warn against heretics? What is a heretic? Well, the word actually means a divisive person. And what do people who spread false information and slander often cause within the body of Christ? Division. So that would mean these folks are always warning against heresy and heretics, while slandering and spreading half-truths like this are indeed heretics themselves. Mind blown. To top it off, many of these people are not repenting or even acknowledging their sin. Don't a lot of them consider unrepentant sin a sign of a false conversion? But hey, That's none of my business. So, some people might wonder, by me bringing this up, does that mean I approve of all the wacky stuff some of these guys are saying or doing? Of course not. I don't know why Benny Hinn pushes people over. Just like I don't approve of all these heretics who are going around calling other people heretics. But here's the point. If you want your criticism to be taken seriously, you have to represent your opponent's argument correctly. Otherwise, you're guilty of the same things you accuse them of. Lying. Truth is, guys, Christians should be leading the way when it comes to honest, candid debate. Instead, we're used as examples of what not to do. It's sloppy, it's inconsistent, and frankly, it's embarrassing. So, stop it.